Welcome, class. Go ahead, grab a seat. Let's just get right into it. Today, we're diving into a full explainer of what is arguably the most famous, dense, and just completely impactful speech in all of American history. I mean, we're talking about words delivered on a literal, blood-soaked field back in 1863. We're going to treat the text of this incredible speech like our own personal time machine. We'll break down the exact words to understand the immense weight they carried back then, and, why they still echo so loudly for us today. So, here's our lesson plan for today's explainer. We're going to hit the founding ideals, the Great Civil War, honoring the fallen, the unfinished work, and finally, a new birth of freedom. We'll be tracking this brilliant rhetorical journey chronologically, watching the speaker drag the audience from the distant past right into the harsh reality of their present, and then ultimately lifting their eyes to the future. All right, Section 1, the founding ideals, looking to the past. Let's jump straight into this opening line, where the speaker immediately sets the historical stage by forcing everyone to look backwards. He kicks things off with this incredibly famous, almost poetic phrase, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. It sounds majestic, right? But honestly, he's actually giving his audience a specific math problem to solve. So let's do the math ourselves and see exactly what he means. To solve it, we gotta understand the vocabulary of the 1860s. Now, a score isn't about points in a game. It simply means a group or set of 20 years. So acting as historical detectives for a second, let's break down the equation hidden right there in the text. Okay, 4 times 20 is 80, plus 7 gives us exactly 87 years ago. Boom! He's pointing his audience directly back to the very birth of the nation. He's anchoring this entire speech not in the chaos of the war they're fighting, but in the precise moment the country was conceived. And this is brilliant because it illustrates the core values he claims the nation was built upon from day one. He explicitly states that this new nation was conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. He is reminding everyone that the foundation of the country wasn't just land or military power. It was this radical foundational idea of human equality and freedom. And remember, guys, that was absolutely not the global norm at the time. Moving on to Section 2, the Great Civil War, the ultimate test. Let's see how the speech builds here, sharply pulling us from that distant, idealistic past right into the grim, bloody reality of his present. Notice the deliberate shift in the timeline here. He logically guides the crowd by moving from the nation's creation, 87 years prior, to the now, where they are engaged in a massive, tearing Great Civil War. And finally, he zooms the lens all the way in to the exact spot they're standing, met on a great battlefield of that war. It's this masterful funneling of time and space, pulling them right down to the dirt beneath their boots. So, the crucial point hits right here. He states they are testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. He's telling them straight up, this civil war isn't just some physical battle over territory. It's a profound existential test. Like, can any democracy built on those radical founding ideals of liberty and equality actually survive a stress test of massive internal division? All right, Section 3, honoring the fallen, consecrating the ground. Now the speech pivots to the immediate practical reason they are all gathered on this really somber day. To pull back the curtain a bit, class, it's November 1863, and President Abraham Lincoln is standing at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. They've come to dedicate a portion of that horrific battlefield as a final resting place for the soldiers who gave their lives so that the nation might live. He uses these beautiful, heavy, kind of archaic words like consecrate and hallow, which basically just mean to make or declare something sacred or holy. But watch what Lincoln does next. He makes a really surprising, sudden shift in tone about their own ability to actually do that. He completely flips the script on the audience. He says, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. He argues that the politicians, the dignitaries, all the civilians standing there, they literally lack the power to make this ground sacred. Why? Because the brave men, living and dead, who struggled there have already consecrated it way beyond the poor power of anyone speaking that day to add or detract. This just beautifully contrasts his own deep humility about his fleeting words with the absolutely permanent sacrifice of the soldiers. He says, the world will little note nor long remember what we say here, which, is incredibly ironic given we're literally dissecting it over a century and a half later. But he insists the world can never forget what they did here. Actions, blood, and sacrifice permanently outweigh rhetoric. Which brings us to Section 4, the unfinished work, passing the torch. This is where the speech makes its absolute most vital turn. Instead of just looking back at the dead in passive mourning, the speech boldly transforms into a massive call to action for the living. He essentially points his finger straight at the crowd. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. He's telling the living that they are the ones who have to take up the mantle now. The soldiers did their part, now it's totally up to the audience to continue that critical work. And he clearly outlines the specific tasks remaining for them. Step 1. From these honored dead, they have to take increased devotion to the cause for which the soldiers gave the last full measure of devotion, meaning their actual lives. Step 2. They must highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. You don't honor the dead just by building a cemetery class. You honor them by finishing the job they started. Finally, Section 5, a new birth of freedom, looking to the future. Let's dive into this powerful crescendo where Lincoln lays out the ultimate, forward-looking goal of all this immense, tragic sacrifice. He declares that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. This is monumental, guys. The survival of the nation isn't just about putting things back exactly the way they were 87 years ago. The fiery trial of the Civil War is meant to forge something better, to achieve a transformed, renewed state of liberty that actually lives up to those original ideals in a way it just hadn't before. And he closes the address with this absolutely iconic, enduring definition of democracy, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. He elevates the stakes from a single nation's civil war to the survival of representative democracy everywhere. Basically, if this nation fails its tests, the very concept of a government run by and for its citizens might just vanish globally. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with this provocative question to ponder on your own time. Are we still carrying out the unfinished work to ensure government of the people does not perish from the earth? Is that great overarching task he spoke of on that battlefield still our responsibility today? Keep that in mind as you study history, because honestly, the best history lessons are the ones that ask us who we are right now. Class dismissed.